Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I have another payday routine video for you because I just got paid on October 31st. So I'm going to be sharing with you my gross pay, net pay, my deductions, and breaking down how I am budgeting out my paycheck using a zero-based budgeting system. I will be breaking down my expenses and all of the bills that I have to pay during this pay period. If you are new here, hi, my name is Sydney, and I am sharing my real-time journey of navigating how to budget while also paying down debt and working towards financial freedom. I am 28 years old and I live in rural Montana with my partner and my dog, and I work a full-time 9-to-5 job as an HR generalist in the tech industry. I get paid semi-monthly, so this means I get paid on the 15th and the last day of each month. Now, this paycheck will be a little bit different because I will be sharing with you how I spent a little bit more in certain categories of spending where I normally otherwise would not, because I just recently moved into another apartment. As you can see, my background is different if you have seen my videos before. I just recently moved over the weekend, which is also why this video is a little bit late coming to you. But yeah, I'm going to be sharing with you what I spent throughout the moving process. I really tried to limit my spending and not spend a lot of money. However, there were some necessary items that I did need to get. And so you will see that reflected in this budget breakdown. And I am also hoping to put more money towards my student loans because that is the latest priority now that I have paid off all of my credit card debt. If you have been following along on my credit card payoff journey throughout my payday routines, I have finally paid off all of my credit card debt. I no longer have any credit card debt. Starting at the beginning of this year, I had about $6,500 of credit card debt, and that has most recently been paid off as of the end of September. So now the main priority is putting as much money as I can towards my savings goals, but most importantly, my student loan debt. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive right in. For this paycheck, my gross pay or take-home pay was $2,708.33. And then my net pay or take-home pay was $2,045.35. Now for my taxes, my federal income tax was $234.18. For Medicare, they took out $38.47. For Social Security, they took out $164.50. And then for Montana state withholdings, they took out $110. Moving on to my other deductions, for medical, they took out $29.50. For dental, they took out $2. For vision, they took out $1. For long-term disability, they took out $0. And then for life deductions, it was $0. Now for my HSA, I contributed $25 and my company matches $25 up to $600 annually. And for my Roth 401k, I'm contributing the full 4% and my company is matching that 4% as well. And they took out $108.33 towards my Roth 401k. A mini backstory behind this new apartment and why we moved is that our last apartment that we were living in was not ideal because our neighbors on both sides of us smoked cigarettes and the smoke was coming into our unit. And so we were kind of just suffering through that and it wasn't ideal. Plus, we also had been dealing with bed bugs the entire duration that we were living there. The property management had treated it 4 separate times, but each time we had found bed bugs here and there that were left by the previous tenant, and property management refused to professionally treat it. They just wanted to do it themselves, but it never really seemed to resolve the issue. And so we were just living in a place that was not good for our health and was very uncomfortable. Then we were offered to move into this other apartment that my father-in-law was living in, because he decided to move into the larger home adjacent to this apartment on the same piece of property. So the landlords offered if he wanted to move into the larger property, and then he offered us to move into this smaller apartment unit. It is just on one single piece of land out here in rural Montana, but it's super nice because even though I'm calling it an apartment, it's more like a mini house. We don't have any neighbors above us or below us or besides us other than my father-in-law, which he is just like next door. And then we also have my fiance's brother who is also living on the property, but in a mobile trailer or camper essentially. So the deal was that my father-in-law said that he would cover rent and we would cover the utility bill. So my fiance and I are covering the utility bill for not only our home or apartment, but also for his and my brother-in-law's camper or trailer. So honestly, we're not sure what that's going to look like. It will be interesting to see what the electricity bill comes out to at the end of each month. Right now, it's just really up in the air, and we will see how it plays out and if any adjustments need to be made. But right now, that is what we agreed on. We will cover electricity, and hopefully, it will be reasonable. But it is beginning to start snowing here in Montana, which means we are all using the heater, and the heat, using the heat is obviously really expensive. So we're just going to see what that looks like. And then summers will be interesting too, because summers can be really hot. And we also like to use the AC, but we'll just have to play it by ear and see what this looks like when the electricity bill comes. With that being said, I don't have any rent to pay, but I do have to pay my utility bill, which ended up being $66, but I split that with my fiance. So this is our utility bill from the previous unit we just moved out of. And so for my car loan, I'm putting $329 towards my car loan as usual. My phone bill actually went up because when I was in California, I ended up moving to the unlimited plan while I was there for the 2 weeks because I had completely run out of data and I needed data in order to navigate and drive in California. So I just went to the unlimited plan and then I just bumped back down to the 15 gigabytes of data. So that ended up being $41.50, I believe. Let's double check. With this new phone plan, I am actually paying $41.10 for 15 gigabytes of data. But then I have unlimited text call and whatever else is included. For groceries, I just went shopping at Costco and picked up groceries. That came out to $225.31, but I split utilities, rent, as well as any household bills with my partner, especially like groceries. So that came out to $112.65. Then for gas and transportation, I have already spent $35 on gas, but I'm going to go ahead and budget $65 for gas for the remaining 2 weeks until I get paid because I have to go to physical therapy. Plus, I am also driving into town to have lunch with a friend this weekend. So that is going to be extra gas money. You know what? I'm going to actually budget 70. Let's see, $70 just to be on the safe side. And then I am budgeting $32.20 for my physical therapy. I don't have to make any credit card payments. I should honestly just delete that line. And then we're going to move on and come back to my student loan payment because I'm just going to cover what has already been taken out. $20 towards my retirement account. And then for dining out, so because I went into town and I spent all day on Saturday doing errands and grocery shopping, I also had to pick up a few items at our good food store or our organic market, and that was $53.44. I had to pick up deodorant, and then I picked up sweet potatoes, Japanese sweet potatoes, which were honestly so expensive. If I had realized how much it was going to cost, I probably wouldn't have bought them. I think I got 4 or 5 pretty large Japanese sweet potatoes for like $15, but in hindsight, I probably wouldn't have bought them, but by the time I got to the checkout, I just felt bad being like, no, I don't want these. So I ended up getting them, plus the remaining money of this $53.44 minus the $14 deodorant and minus the $15 sweet potatoes was spent on lunch for myself and my brother-in-law who helped us move over the weekend. So I wanted to treat him to lunch on top of us also paying him to help us move. So that was $53.44. Is that what I put? Let's see, 53. 44. For shopping, so we ended up spending money at Walmart. The bulk of this is closet organizers because honestly, in most of the apartments I've lived in, it's been a chaotic mess with my clothes and my partner's clothes. They ended up sitting in laundry baskets. They were just never really organized. Honestly, clothes on the floor, because we've never had like a proper dresser, because every time we go to look at dressers and stuff, it's just so expensive. Even the used dressers and items, I just never found one that I really liked. However, they had these closet organizers and shelves at Walmart that were really reasonable, and I like them because you could build it and then take it apart for if we move down the line, just really easy. However, they were still pricey. So I bought one shelving unit for myself and then one shelving unit for my partner. And I believe they were about $58 each. So right there, that's already over $100. That's like $116. And then I bought a shoe organizer and I believe that was around $32. So a large portion of this $228 spent at Walmart was just the clothes organizer and then the shoe rack. And then I had to buy miscellaneous household items for like cleaning and just various miscellaneous things that were needed. So unfortunately, I did do some shopping, but since I split that with my partner, that came out to $114.31. I was really wanting not to spend any money, but this is necessary because we moved into a smaller unit and we have less square footage. We need everything to be more tidy and organized so that we're not trampling on one another and we can really take advantage and make use of the space. So I am not spending any money on clothes. This, again, is being pushed off. Every paycheck, I say I'm going to buy this dress that I really want. It's actually two dresses because we are going to a wedding in December, I believe. I don't know. I think we are. And I'm still wanting these dresses, but I put them off every paycheck because I'm like, no, can't afford it. Anyways, now what else? I also spent $9.20 at my local organic market because honestly, I shouldn't have spent the money, but I bought like a coffee and I think I got some egg salad because I was really lazy while moving to cook because I was pretty much doing all the moving myself since my partner happened to have just broken his finger like the day before we were getting ready to move. So he has been in pain all weekend, unable to help me really move, which is why I did most of the moving with my brother-in-law. So anyways, I really should have saved that $9.20. It was kind of dumb to go and spend money on food, but I just did not have the energy to cook. So I'm going to go put that towards eating out or dining out. Now that my credit card is fully paid off, it has been my goal to build up my emergency savings fund. And so I have already set up for $50 to be automatically deposited into my emergency savings once I get paid. So let's go ahead and add that to my emergency savings, $50. And then I'm going to add another $100 to my travel budget for China 2026. Now, my plan is to visit China in October of 2026. So I know that as of right now, I need to be putting in way more into this sinking fund for this trip because my budget is around $5,000 to $6,000. $5,000 for a hotel and all the excursions and spending just to be on the safe side, and then like another 1,000 or so for the flight. But for right now, I want to put more money towards my student loans in before the end of the year and then kind of double back and then put more towards my trip to China. Now I know I will be needing to switch to my winter tires soon, so I'm going to add another $40 to my car maintenance for this year. I don't think I'll add any more money this year towards car maintenance because it's not the highest priority right now to fill up that sinking fund. However, with this $40 and the $40 I put in last paycheck, I will have $80, which will cover the cost of changing out my tires. Oh my goodness, you guys. I got a speeding ticket while I was driving back from California to Montana. I am so sad and bummed out about it. It was honestly, obviously my fault. Just really stupid that I ended up getting a speeding ticket, which ended up costing me $160.42. So that is something that I'm really bummed out about because that is just, in a way, money wasted. So yeah, obviously, lesson learned. It was just that, I mean, there's no excuse for speeding, but I was driving for 20 hours. And if you've ever driven on a really long road trip or car ride, you kind of just get to that point where maybe you're not paying attention and you're just kind of driving fast through those rural farmland areas. And yeah, that's what happened. I was driving through rural farmland area, but it happened to be a construction zone. Anyways, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have done it, and now I'm paying for it. So let's go ahead and add my ticket. Speeding ticket. And yeah, that was not fun because that is money I could have put towards my student loans. As we can see, I have a remaining balance of $592.23 that needs to be allocated. Now, I do have to pay for my taxes that I am paying to my CPA for having done my taxes last year. And so I was finally billed for her completing my 2024 taxes. Unfortunately, it took her all until October to complete them. And so I think my total was $750 or $760. So I owe $380 towards here, which I will also put in miscellaneous. Let's go ahead and add that $380 for taxes here, which would make that $540.42, leaving us with $212.23 left over. This amount I'm going to put towards my student loans. $212.23. Oh, there we go. That is every dollar budgeted out for this paycheck. As you can see, for groceries, we did come in under, which is great. But for my phone bill, we came in $10 over. For my gas, we came in $10 over budget because I decided to budget a little bit more towards gas since I know I will be doing a little bit more driving to the city this weekend. For student loan payments, unfortunately, I was hoping to put way more than $212.23, but obviously with paying my taxes and my speeding ticket, that has been a step back towards putting more money towards my student loans. But hopefully next time we will put a larger amount. My goal is to be putting roughly $800 to $1,000 towards my student loans. Also, I did cancel my Spotify subscription, which was $11.99 a month. So come next paycheck, I will not be paying for Spotify, unfortunately, even though I do enjoy listening to music and podcasts. It just seems like it's not worth it when I'm paying $12 a month, which is $144 per year. Everything has just gotten so insanely expensive that in order to reach my goals, I do feel like sacrifices have to be made and I do have to live frugally. I know a lot of people like to approach budgeting and working towards their financial freedom goals while allowing themselves to enjoy life and everything, but I think it just really depends on what your immediate goals are, especially if it's to pay off debt and student loans. I think sacrifices are necessary and it takes discipline and it takes compromise and sacrifice for your future self to live more comfortably. And so even though it's uncomfortable right now and it's not fun to have to cut things out, especially something that seems so frivolous like Spotify, all of that really adds up. And that's $144 extra dollars for the year that I can put towards my student loans. Any other areas where I was over or under? I guess, oh wait, no. Clothing, I came in under, so that was good. However, the miscellaneous expense, I came in over. That is my entire paycheck budgeted out. If you are interested in downloading this spreadsheet, it will be linked in the description below. I have this free zero-based budget spreadsheet that is downloadable for you to use for yourself to get started with zero-based budgeting. I created this myself to be a simple and easy way to get started with budgeting, and I really enjoy just using a simple spreadsheet to get started with budgeting because you don't have to make it complicated and you don't need to pay for some fancy budgeting tool, especially if you're just figuring out how to get started with budgeting and you're trying to figure out what works for you. That being said, this is how I budget each paycheck using this zero-based budgeting spreadsheet, making sure that I have $0 left over after every paycheck and that every dollar has been given a job in each of my spending categories. And then I created this pivot table just to do a side-by-side comparison of my planned amount versus my actual spending. And then it's also displayed down here in this bar chart. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions at all, or if anything was confusing, please feel free to comment down below. I love reading your comments and questions. I will do my best to answer them. Also, if you have any issues downloading the zero-based budgeting spreadsheet, please let me know. It should be fairly simple and straightforward. You can just go ahead and click the link, then enter your email, and it should deliver access to your email. And then you'll have to hit file in the top left-hand corner and then make a copy. So that way you can go ahead and save it for yourself and you can make changes and edits to your own zero-based budgeting spreadsheet. As always, I would love for you to comment down below and share any tips you have when it comes to budgeting out your paycheck, or what is a win that you have had recently when it comes to budgeting out your paycheck. Is there any ways that you have cut back? I would love to hear from you. As always, I feel like we can always learn from each other in this space, and I will see you in my next video.